this week we headed to New Hampshire. Our only stop in New Hampshire, unfortunately, from the racing that we saw. And what we did see was the big three only solidify themselves as such. I'm JoeTow, and this is the Pit Report. So yeah, this is the Pit Report. And in this show, I'm going to try to do it once weekly at least, and talk about the race, the NASCAR race, because I'm a huge NASCAR fan. And, I mean, that's the gist of it. We're going to talk about racing, we're going to talk about action, we're going to talk about fender-to-fender, door banging, and just all the things that we love about motorsports. And maybe, hey, down the road, we'll look at other types, but I think right now, the NASCAR community, we need more content. We need more content like this, like other shows similar, because I know I'm not the only one out there, where it's more opinion-based rather than analyticals. Because I think with racing, we've gone too far into science. We've gone too far into making sure every little inch is perfect. And I mean, we're going to go over a couple of those things today. But obviously, the first we're going to talk about New Hampshire. The race this weekend, I mean, New Hampshire, usually they lost their chase race or playoff race or whatever you want to call it to Vegas, just because people were like, Vegas is a better track, Vegas is better racing. But I think we saw that New Hampshire, it's a good track. We saw fender-to-fender, wheel-to-wheel with that traction compound in the upper groove. Saw really good racing, and yeah. So, started off, Kurt Busch started on the pole. He led about the first 35 laps until we got to our competition caution. Then we had a couple cars that had stayed out. Namely being Ricky Stenhouse Jr. and Jimmy Johnson. Also Matt Kenseth, who did really good. All three of them did really good holding on. Stenhouse barely got a stage point at the end. Almirola ended up passing him. More on Almirola later, obviously. And then after that caution, Truex set out past those two. I didn't see the pass for the lead with the NBC broadcast, but Truex won stage one, so big three. Obviously, a lot of people after last week in Kentucky and Truex's dominance there at the 1.5 miles, like he was last year, people were really thinking Truex is the title favorite. And title favorite, I mean, we got three title favorites. We got Kyle Busch, Kevin Harvick, Martin Truex. I don't think you can put a piece of paper between the three. I really think every time we say, oh, well, this one's edging out in front, they're not. I just think it's about the tracks. And you look at the numbers of each of the drivers, Truex traditionally struggles has not had the finishes at New Hampshire compared to the other two. Whereas in recent history, Truex has been dominant at 1.5 miles, while the other two have had success, but you looked at it, and I mean, Truex won the championship last year just because he was so good at 1.5 miles, and he was in contention for it the year before because he was so good at 1.5 miles. And even when they were still Chevy, they were in contention for it just because they were so good at 1.5 miles. And yeah, so Truex wins stage one, go on to stage two. A little bit of strategy plays, a lot of guys taking 4, a couple guys take 2, if I recall correctly. And anyway, stage pretty uninterrupted, pretty clean race for as good of a race as it was. We didn't get a lot of cautions, a lot of restarts, which is awesome. I think the stage race, I like stage racing, but that's for another time. Stage 2, pretty clean. Chase Elliott moves up to the front. Chase Elliott takes the lead away from Martin Truex Jr. about, I'd like to say, halfway to 2/3 of the way through the stage. And Chase Elliott wins his first stage of the season. And, I mean, at this point, you're thinking Hendrick's back. Bowman had qualified really good. Jimmy Johnson was up there competing, battling for the lead after some strategy calls. And William Byron, honestly, he's been doing better and better the last few weeks. So you're thinking Hendrick's back. Chase Elliott, this could be the week that Chase Elliott finally wins. And unfortunately for a lot of people, Chase Elliott did not win the race. Stage went on. Elliott ended up finishing 4th, if I recall correctly. Just get 4th, 3rd or 4th. No, 4th, because Almirola finished 3rd. Or he's 5th. I don't know. So he was in there. Chase Elliott had a good run. That's the gist of the story. He got his first top 10 at New Hampshire. Anyways, not the point. As we moved on to stage 3, it was really setting up for a Truex, Chase Elliott. Kurt Busch had a really strong car all day too. and it was really setting up for that kind of battle. And then we had what I like to call your story of the race, or your best driver of the race, or whatever you want to call it, and that was Eric Almirola. Almirola had an awesome long run car, and who wouldn't expect that? Stuart Haas Racing has had great cars all season. Between all four of those cars, honestly, Boyer's had a couple wins. Kurt Busch has led a lot of laps for not winning a race. I think he's had 3 or 4 poles this year. So he's had speed. Almirola has been in the top 10 a lot. He's just struggling on finishing races. This was even his first top 5, but you wouldn't think that with how good the 10 car's been running. And Almirola battles to the lead. And then we get to green flag pit stops. And under green flag pit stops is where the trouble starts. Almirola, they had trouble. One of the tire carriers, someone slipped, and it ended up costing him the lead. Harvick had pit 3 or 4 laps earlier and had gained about 3 seconds on Almirola, and this was after Kurt Busch was already breathing down Almirola's back going to pit before pits. But Kurt Busch's team had an incident with Ryan Blaney, or just no one knew where the other person was going because they were parked right next to each other. My eye itches. It was really cool, just the way all the pit stops would work. But Almirola ends up battling back in front, and we get a caution. Forget what the caution was for off the top. Oh, there's a big old piece of, I think Truex had said it was a spring rubber. They said on the broadcast that it wasn't. Big old piece of something in the middle of the track on the front stretch. So we had to throw it a precaution, and come down pit road. After they come down pit road, Almirola's team again, they lose him 2 spots, and that's not good. Kyle Busch has the lead. Harvick second, Almirola and Martin Truex are your top 4. On the ensuing restart, Almirola spins his tires, and he falls back to like 8th or 9th. Kurt Busch had restarted right behind him. He falls back. He's angry. They're all angry. Inside line does not go at all. No one even tries to pass Almirola, which I thought was really weird. And they're set sailing to the... And Harvick slides in behind Kyle Busch. And then you get a battle. You get a battle between the two for about for those last 35, 40 laps. And it was an amazing battle, because it truly shows, I think it was a glimpse into what we're going to see as the season goes on and into the playoffs or into the chase or whatever you want to call it, into those final 10 races. Because you had Kyle Busch versus Kevin Harvick, heads up, no cautions. We didn't have any cautions. And there was lap traffic, honestly didn't come into it. Harvick had slipped up a little earlier in the run, but was able to chase Kyle back down. And with about, it was late. I think it was under 10 laps to go. Harvick goes up. He has been beating on Kyle Busch's back bumper for 6, 7 laps. Pretty much telling Kyle, I'm here, And Kyle keeps blocking him off the corners. Just my opinion. He did it a couple of times for sure. Don't know if he did it every lap. But those two are nose to tail, nose to tail. Kyle's car is very, very loose. Off the corner especially, and through the center. And Harvick going into turn 1 with about 6 to go, just boots Kyle out of that upper groove where all the traction compound is, and Harvick takes the lead. And he runs away with the lead. He gets about a second off of that. Kyle Busch gets back going, and Harvick just sets sail, ends up with like about a 2-second lead at the end of the race. Kyle Busch finishes second. Almirola, after the terrible restart, finishes third, and Martin Truex Jr. 4th, I believe. Again, I'll throw the results up somewhere. I don't know. I think I got enough space all around me. But Harvick wins. Harvick with a pretty awesome racing move. Had an awesome finish to a pretty awesome race. So now we're going to go over the results. Got them pulled up. First off, Almirola, 3rd place. Awesome race for that 10 team. Honestly, he looked like he was going to win that race. He looked like he had the best car late. I think if he would have won, I think everyone would have been super stoked, because Almirola is a guy that deserves a win. Ryan Newman finished as 6th. Just another kind of Ryan Newman day. Kind of just sneaks up into the finishing and gets a good finish. Awesome day for that 31 team. Johnson finishes 10th. Alex Bowman 11th. Those two more Hendrick guys. So I don't want to say Hendrick's back. I don't think Hendrick's back, but they're starting to make strides towards it. Because, I mean, you had a couple of Chevys. You had 3 Chevys in the top 10. Obviously they weren't contending. I don't think Chase Elliott was ever a contender for the win. I think he just kind of, Truex's car wasn't too great, and I think the better cars were still kind of towards the back. Again, trying not to knock Chase Elliott because I think he's an awesome race car driver. It's just those Camaros have not been good this year. William Byron with a 14th, and the big one, Matt Kenseth finishes 15th. And Kenseth is a guy, you know, thrust into the 6th car with the, you know, can you help us? Can you make us better? And I think he's showing that. I think he showed that these cars are better. I think Stenhouse has improved since Kenseth has started back with Roush. And even the 6th car has run better when Matt's been in the car. I think we haven't seen enough of Trevor Bayne to really tell if the difference is there for him. And then 2 bad notables towards the back. Keselowski finishes 32nd after having a brake issue. He literally had no brakes, so he was off the gas halfway down the straightaway trying to make sure he was loaded up enough for the corner. And Clint Boyer had a tire go down that made him finish 35th. So those are your notable finishers. I don't know if y'all remember NASCAR Race Hub before the FS1 change when it was still speed. Jimmy Spencer came on. He had his own little segment on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Favorite segments out there. Whether it's him reading emails or him giving out awards. And I think if everyone remembers one little award, it was a crying towel. The crying towel award went to the guy that complained the most after a race, and you know, you got your nice little speech. So in honor of Jimmy Spencer and that beautiful segment, on this show we'll be giving out awards. And this week, believe it or not, it's going to be a crying towel. And I think you already know who it's going to. Because it's so hard to race for a win and someone's beating my bumper. Kyle. So hard. It's so hard to be Kyle Busch because even when I have a bad car, I have to do good. Even when I have a bad car, they expect me to do good, and they expect me to win. And that's just not fair. Kevin Harvick was faster, and he still pulled me out of the way, because he couldn't pass. Just listen to what Kyle had to say about how hard it is after the race.
It's going to be hard to hold him off, and I was just kind of backing up and you know, 3, 4, 5 corners in a row, and with a faster car, I'm not sure you had to do it, but he did. It's fine. It's how you race is how you get raced, so it's fine.
All right, gotta compose yourself, Joe. Kyle, it was for the win. That's 5 playoff points. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 playoff points. Harvick was already down 5 playoff points to you, bud, because he had that 1 win in Cumber earlier in the season. And I don't know if you remember Chicagoland.
To the finish, you and Kyle Larson, he gave you a thumbs up as everything's going on. Man, how did that shake down there for you two?
I don't know, just I got really boxed in behind lap cars and got really slow, and then was just trying to get all I could there the last couple laps, and Larson tried to pull a slider, didn't quite complete it, slid up into me, used me, and then I kind of used him as a little bit of a break getting into 3, and was able to come back for the victory, you know. So great thing for this Skittles Camry, all these guys. I mean, we were horrible today, absolutely horrendous, and we just never gave up. We just always kept working on it and kept making the most of it, and got to where we needed it right there at the end, and was able to lead all those laps. And if it wasn't for lap traffic, it wouldn't even have been a race. I don't know what y'all are whining about, but if you don't like that kind of racing, don't even watch.
I mean, if you don't like that racing, then just don't watch. So anyways, that is the crying towel segment. I'll get better at it. I'm not very good at faking my own tears. But, yeah, Jimmy Spencer, if you ever get to see this video, thought that segment was the bomb. And I hope you don't think I'm trying to steal it from you, because honestly, that was the best. I love making fun of people that like to cry. Not in a mean way, but like, I don't like people that complain. But anyways, Kyle Busch complains after the race, says, if that's how he wants to race, then that's how he'll get raced, and I think that's how Kyle races, so I think that's how Kyle's going to get raced. I think it's as simple as that. Don't think it's going to be a big deal. Everyone's like, well, you got to look over, Harvick's going to have to look over his shoulder. If Harvick has to look over his shoulder for that, Kyle still finished second. It's not like he wrecked Kyle. I think the same thing goes for what Kyle did to Kyle, and then Kyle did to Kyle at Chicagoland. I think Busch didn't wreck Larson, but I still think he tried to wreck him. But same situation almost. Kyle could have got back to him. He would have done the same thing that he did at Chicago to Larson. So not a big deal. Anyways, if we look at the playoff picture, we still got the same guys in there. Harvick now has that other 5 points. He has the most playoff points. He's got 32. And I think Kyle Busch at this point, I think with the way he's finished all these races, I think he's probably gonna in the driver's seat to win the regular season championship, unless Truex goes on a tear or someone goes on a tear. But right now, the playoffs, you have 300. You have the 300 guys minus Byron. You have the 3 Penske guys. You have Austin Dillon in there. You have Joey Logano, you have all 4 of the Stewart Haas guys. I think that's pretty big. And you also have 3 of the Gibbs guys. And right now, the way the playoffs are shaking out, or the playoff picture, this field is still pretty strong. I know we've had guys that won a lot of races, but I still feel like there are guys that will be able to contend with the big 3. Larson is obviously one that comes to mind because of just the way he's done, how good he is as a driver in general. I think he was using better equipment. I think he'd be winning just as many, if not more, races than these other 3. But yeah, I just think it was just an awesome race. I think points battle's shaping up pretty nice. Once we get to Indy, we'll know exactly where everything is. I think the playoff picture is pretty good. I think with Newman, it's Stenhouse, Newman. I'm not looking at anything. It's like Stenhouse, Menard, Newman, and Daniel Suarez. That's 17 through 20. I think that's probably. I'm pretty sure that's in order. Right now, it's looking like Stenhouse or Bowman for that last spot, depending on if one of them can win or someone else behind them wins. Because I think you could see Suarez win. I think William Byron could win a race. I think he's still in there. I also think Paul Menard can win a race. But yeah, it kind of depends on how many more new winners we get that are outside of that picture. I think those top 16, though, are really our 16 best drivers. And that's not to knock anyone. I think the only one that you could really make I think Austin Dillon's obviously the one after winning the 500, and then not RCR and Chevy as a whole, just not showing a lot of speed. He's the one that you could say, well, maybe he doesn't belong in that 16. But I think, by the same token, I don't think Ricky Stenhouse belongs in that 16. I love Ryan Newman. I think he's an awesome guy, awesome driver. I don't think he's in that conversation. I think a lot of the Chevy guys shouldn't even be in that conversation. Just because of the way the Camaros have run this year. And maybe we'll see that next year from the Ford. So that's something to watch too as we go on. Anyways, love it if you'd hit that like button. If you want to hit subscribe, if you want to hit the notification button, because then you'll know exactly when I'm uploading, because I'm a little sporadic with everything. But really appreciate you guys watching. If you watched all the way through, I'm going to put some other videos around me. And I hope that I can see you guys in the next one. And I'm JoeTow. I'm JoeTow now, not Race Car Boy, whatever. And I'll see you guys next time on the Pit Report.